Thank you all for joining me today. I hope everybody's doing well, and I want to thank you for taking the time to out of your schedule to spend some time with me. Today we're going to share some happy mail, and we're going to do a really fun card project. So I first have a piece of artwork. I know you guys love to share the artwork from the kids. I've got a piece of artwork from Nate that he created. I'm not sure which way it goes. We're gonna do it this way. But he made this in school with his speech therapist. Isn't that cool? I love it. Whoops. So I live in the Northeast United States in the state of New Jersey, and we're just beginning to see the fall colors here. They will look like this very soon, but we haven't gotten an abundance of it yet. We're still in the transition from late summer into fall, so I'm really happy. I don't know that he cut these out himself, but I'll give you a close-up look because it's painted, that he painted it. It's cool, huh? I love it. And Nate is my creative guy. If out of both of my children, he's the one that's definitely a little bit more on the creative side. I have some wonderful happy mail to share with you all this week. I got this card from the amazing Tammy Hewlett, and I'll give you a nice close-up look here. And it looks like she's used some Brusho. And just a gorgeous color variations. I love Tammy's work. She does such a great job every single time. Isn't that amazing? It's gorgeous. And the note inside is just, thank you so much, Tammy. And I have a piece of happy mail from my friend Jessie Holton. And I was so surprised to see this. And I have to tell you, Jessie, yes, there were tears whenever I read it. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And here is a look at Jessie's gorgeous card. If you guys have not checked out Jessie's work, then her full name is Jessie Holton. She's a demonstrator in Australia. And look at what a wonderful job she did with this card. It's so cool. And on the back, she has her watermark. Look at how she has her watermark. It's like a coffee cup. Isn't that the coolest? So cool. Hi Fran, how are you today? So I have a card to share with you all. If I can get to it here in my workstation, I forgot to bring it out earlier, so I'm glad I remembered it. But today is a special day for me because I am the featured tutorial, I think it's officially called guest tutorial artist at Split Coast Stampers. And if you guys have not ever been onto the website for Split Coast Stampers, then I highly recommend that you go and join that community. Hi Kathy, how are you today? So Split Coast Stampers is a wonderful resource and a community. Oh, thanks Fran. I am so honored that they asked me to make a tutorial. And so there's a video tutorial and a written tutorial at Split Coast Stampers. And this is the card that I created. And the name of the technique is Drunken Watercolor Powders. Drunken watercolor refers to a technique that is some sort of coloring with rubbing alcohol added in. And hence the word drunken. It's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing. And but I used watercolor powders, which is Brusho. So you guys, if you watched me a couple of weeks ago, then I did this experimentation of Brusho versus ink refills, and we came up with some really fun results. And I was able to use those panels in several different projects going forward. And this is done just very similar. There is a video at Splitco Stampers for this card. There's also a video on my YouTube channel that it's pretty much the same video, but I added a little extra to it just to be able to customize it for my channel, such as shopping links and a little bit more at the end, information on how to get to my blog and stuff like that. But here's a close-up look of the card, and I really like how the Brusho came out this time. I used the red Brusho, and I just loved it. I love this technique so much. Hi Donna, thanks for sharing. So this was a really fun project to create, and if you guys make this technique, I'd love to see it. You can contact me here on my Facebook or YouTube page. You can send it to me by email. I would love to see what you come up with for this alcohol with glossy paper and Brusho. Drunken watercolor powders. That's what it's kind of familiarly called. Thank you for sharing, Sherry. And thanks, Anne Marie. I'm so glad you like it. So we're going to get to it. Today we have a project, that I'm creating with Making Everyday Bright stamp set. And here's a look at the stamp set. And there is one that is, it's a Halloween theme image that's inside here. Let me show it to you, that there is Easter, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, warm holidays, fall, cool holidays, everything is in this stamp set. Now this is in the holiday catalog, and this stamp set is like an addition to or a companion of this stamp set that is called Making Christmas Bright, and this is Making Everyday Bright. So Making Christmas Bright is a really, really fun stamp set. I mean, it's cool and all, but I think it's just a lot of fun. And sometimes whenever I can get a punch that's involved, then my children are really excited to craft with me. So here's what the punch looks like, and it looks like these Christmas light bulbs from both stamp sets. So you can see where this would be, get more for what you've already got in your craft supplies. So we've got this punch, and it's a very simple to use punch. And today we're going to not use this Christmas set. We're going to use the everyday set because we are about to come up on Halloween holiday. So this is going to be the little image here that has the spider web. And then there's an image up here that has the base of the light bulb right here. And then we could even add in this little brightener piece. That would work as well. I'm not going to go that far today, but it would definitely make a nice addition. And then there's a string of lights here at the top. I know there's a glare. I'm trying to make sure the glare doesn't show. There we go. Right here. And we're going to use that. Now that string is different from this one in the Making Christmas Bright. The Making Christmas Bright stamp set only has the string that's like a curve. It's like a smile. But this one here has a different type of string. So these two stamp sets work together so well. I kind of didn't even think about it. Whenever I wanted to get this one, I knew that this was going to also be something that I could get a lot of holidays. Now this stamp set does not have any sentiments. So you can probably guess which one we're going to use for our sentiment, and that is Itty Bitty Greetings. And Itty Bitty Greetings covers 32 different occasions. So Halloween is in here. It is trick or treat, is what it says. So Itty Bitty Greetings is a stamp set that will get through so many different occasions and holidays, you name it. That's the only thing that I need as far as, like, I know there's going to be products that come out that say happy birthday, but maybe I don't like the size that it goes with. Itty Bitty Greetings is a nice small stamp that I can just fit in between something that's a really fun image. So that's my thinking of why I use this particular stamp set so much, because it really does make a really good accompaniment to a lot of different images. And you guys know that we're all about getting more mileage from our craft supplies. So I get a lot of mileage from Itty Bitty Greetings. Well, it's time for me to flip the camera over and we're going to get started on our project. We've also got another fun stamp set that we're going to work with. Pick up a few things here that I dropped, and I'm going to move things around. I'll cover up the camera. Okay, here we go. Now here's another good look at that punch, and the punch is just so much fun. So as usual, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to type a question in. If you want me to answer it really quickly, then please type the word question in caps and then put your question, and that way I will see it right away. Otherwise, sometimes Facebook is not very nice with showing me what the comments are that you guys make until well after the video is finished. So knowing that we're going to make this a Halloween card, we have lots of different elements today. That's really one of the fun things that I like about crafting is I can pull from my supplies and I can go so many different directions. So I'm going to make a background of the buffalo check stamp set. And if you haven't yet visited with this little friend, then this could be your new best friend, because buffalo check is amazing. I have been checking out what the holiday trends are so far this year, and I can tell you that I'm seeing buffalo check all over the place. Particularly, I see it in red and black. But we're not using red and black today. We're going to stick with green and purple Halloween colors. But the red and black is very popular, very trendy, and it gives a little bit of a, I don't know, a comforting feeling, like a flannel shirt. Flannel always gives me a kind of a comfort feeling. So we are going to stamp with this, and I have a little trick that I'm going to help along the way with the buffalo check. And you can apply that to just about any of your stamping. So I have a few tricks that I'm going to share, I should say. First off, here's a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock, and I've stamped the buffalo check with Highland Heather on one side and Gorgeous Grape on the other side. And I wanted to be able to tell whether or not Highland Heather was going to give me that nice, strong purple look. And I don't feel like the Highland Heather has enough contrast to the green, because the green almost overpowers the Highland Heather. So there is Gorgeous Grape on this side, and I do feel like there's enough contrast between the Gorgeous Grape and the Granny Apple Green. So we're going to stamp today with this one here. This is the Gorgeous Grape. Now, if you notice on here, then sometimes the buffalo check stamp, and not just this stamp, it's the new stamp, and it needs to be used and well loved before it stamps perfectly every time. And that's the same with so many different stamps.
not just red rubber, but photopolymer. There's lots of different things we need to do to condition and use our stamps. And of course, the more they get used, the better they work for us. But I'm not really crazy about all of these little flecks of unstamped area. This is where the ink kind of gathers together away from certain areas. And I like to have a nice crisp image. Sometimes this will be okay. This is good for just like a distressed look, but I'm just, especially on this one with the Highland Heather, I want to try to do my best to get a nice crisp image. So I have a few ways that we're going to try today to see what we can do to improve the stamping on this particular image. So I'm using my Stamparatus because this is a large stamp, it's a background stamp, and this will definitely help to, this will help us to be able to know for sure that we can get a nice image and give it a nice amount of pressure. This image also fits perfectly onto the largest clear acrylic block from Stampin' Up. So if you don't have a stamp positioner, then you can use your large acrylic block and that would work out really good too. So one way that we can try to get the ink to not run away from where it's supposed to go is by first applying some Versamark down to our stamp, and that helps things a little bit. There's a couple of different things that I'm going to do to try to get this image and then to get the image in my background paper to line up just right. So we're going to work in a couple of stages. And I'll need to use my chamois in order to clean this off in between. So the chamois is just kept in an empty, regular clear mount stamp case. And I'm able to use it for maybe a day or two without rinsing it out and refreshing the water. So I try to do that. If I can remember, I try to do it probably every other day. So the first thing I'm going to do is to try to help to know exactly where this buffalo check image is going to stamp out on my paper. I'm going to use just an area of paper instead of a big huge scrap and cut it down. I'm going to use a already cut scrap because I know this is the size of the cardstock that I want to feature on my project. So in order to know exactly where I want to place it, I'm going to add a light coat of ink to the stamp, and I'm going to stamp it down here to this excess piece of grid paper, and I'll show you exactly how it is that I came up with knowing where to place my paper on this big stamp. So I'm just adding enough ink to where I can see that where it's going to stamp. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to close it down. So now I can see that, and you guys can see how it's very easy for this to, it doesn't stamp perfectly every time. We're getting there though. We're going to do a couple of things to try to improve that. Let me clean this off and let it start drying because I want to start, when I do my stamp on it, I want to make sure that it is dry. Sounds like a squeaky little mouse, doesn't it? Okay, so I know that this image is going to stamp in this position while I've got it loaded on my Stamparatus. So I can take my piece of paper here, my piece of cardstock, and if I don't want the paper to end on one of these empty rows, like here in between the dark and the stripe is the empty row, if I don't want the edge of the paper to look like there's no stamping on it, then I need to be careful as to where I place this cardstock on the background stamp. I hope that that makes sense and that you can understand what the method is of the madness that I'm trying to explain. I like to have stamping all the way to the edge, especially if this is going to be a layer or a background piece. And you can see here that it did not go. This is kind of like open, suspended out in space, and I'm not really crazy about that look. So I want to try to make sure that I put my piece of paper down to be stamped where I know I'm going to just stamp it once and get the look I want. So setting this aside and using a fresh piece of cardstock, I know that I'm going to need to have the edge of the cardstock on one of these rows that has the solid squares. And that'll make sure strategically that I know that the edge of all 4 pieces of my paper, of my cardstock, are going to have some solid color on it. And design-wise, it looks better that way, but this is not something that is necessary for this stamp set. I'm just sharing that this is my way, this is my method of trying to get that nice solid look all the way around to where I won't have to restamp it and maybe perhaps say, I need to trim the paper down, or this helps me to get it right the first time. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I'm glad you like this tip. So I'm going to add the Versamark clear sticky ink first to this background stamp to try to get a much better coverage of ink. And what all Versamark is just sticky stuff. It's not going to hurt my stamp pad when I go over it with the gorgeous grape. If you get a little nervous about this, you can let it dry up a little bit first before you add your ink pad that has your dye ink color. You can kind of let this set out for just a little bit, and I'm hoping that this is going to give me that I'm looking for the word, I'm not sure what it is, but it kind of clots up. The ink clots up on a new stamp when it's a solid area. So now I have this paper lined up exactly the right way. I'm going to add my ink. Making sure that I don't miss any areas. So I'm giving it a nice good coverage because I've got one time to do this. If this were a larger piece of paper, then I could stamp it and restamp it and restamp it and restamp it in my Stamparatus until I get the color and the image that I'm looking for. But this is just a small piece of cardstock. Okay, I think we've got enough ink happening. So we're going to now apply this down, and I'm going to do a few things. The first thing is that I'm going to try to give an even amount of pressure all over this very big stamp. The second thing is I'm taking my time to do it because I want as much of the ink that's on the stamp to soak down into the paper. And just like you could do this on an acrylic block, you would just stamp the block down. This small piece of paper that is under this larger area of a stamp it's not going to stay in the Stamparatus. It's going to come up. When I flip this door, the odds are it's going to come up. Now I could have put a little piece of snail adhesive on the back to hold it in place. I didn't think about that until just now though. So that's another option. I wish I would have thought about it before because that would be a good solution. Sometimes ideas come a little bit late to be implemented, but hopefully I'll remember it for next time. Hello, Betty. How are you? Hi, Karen. Okay. There we go. And it did stay in place. So I do have another opportunity to add some more. The spottiness kind of looks uniform. So I think the Versamark helped but it didn't help enough for me. But then again, the spottiness is uniform. The spottiness is everywhere. And this is one that I got a much better look. So I think I'm going to go for it again. And add another layer of grape. And since my paper stayed put, and it looks like I'm having trouble right here, so I'll have to make sure that I give a lot of pressure in that area. And sometimes whenever I get paper too close to my hinges, then it doesn't give me enough contact with the paper. And that's just the way things happen with when you use a positioner. So let's give this take 2 and see how stamping it the second time works. Hi, Carol. All right, let's try it again. Yeah, this time it's stuck. Okay, so before I peel it off, I have one more opportunity to make sure that I get really good contact. And how about if I just rub this with a smooth, even surface, and my fine tip glue pen can do that for me. Multiple uses, right? We're really getting the most out of our craft supplies today. Okay. I hope I didn't move that. Well, it looks better, but it's still not completely solid. So I think that when using this stamp set, we're going to have to just stamp it a lot. I've got a really good solid image here on my grid paper though. So as long as you have a larger piece, or you secure it down in your Stamparatus, then you could keep stamping and stamping and stamping it until you get the look you want. But the one thing that did work perfectly, I'll set this aside, is the fact that I have solid on all 4 edges. And that's in comparison to this piece here where I don't have solid edges. Because this one, I took the time to place the paper in just the right spot on the background stamp. And this one has these like open images. Now, if I were going to put a layer of purple underneath this, it wouldn't be so bad. But otherwise, I'm not comfortable with it having the open images. Okay, so let's proceed. I know this is going to be a little bit wet since we've stamped it a few times, but that's all right. We're going to get along with our project. So here is a panel that we're going to use to layer on top of this piece of Highland Heather, and then we're going to put the buffalo check over that. So we're going to do a little bit of stamping on this piece first. And going back to our featured stamp set. And that's the Making Every Day Bright. I'm going to bring more of the Granny Apple Green color in. And I'm going to use this fun image here of where it looks like the strings. These look like more of the stringed lights that you can put like for holidays, outdoor decor and stuff like that. It has a very fun look. So I don't need to have all 4 of the points stamped. Instead, I just need 3 of those points to be stamped. So I'm grabbing just a scrap of paper and I'm going to mask off an area. So I can do this a couple of different ways. To mask off one of these segments, I can use a piece of washi tape, or I could just use a piece of leftover grid paper here. I can do this by just laying the grid paper down on my stamp pad, or holding it up or taping it onto my block. There's lots of different ways. But I want to make sure that I don't get any ink on the area that is on the part that I don't want. So I'm going to give you a second to look that extra segment does not have any stamp ink on it. All right, and this is going to need to go in the trash because now it's toxic. It has the bright green. And just to make sure that I didn't get any ink, I'm going to just kind of make sure here with my finger that I don't have any of the ink where it doesn't go. All right, so now I'm going to stamp this. Looks like I rocked that block quite a bit, so I'm going to take a precaution and clean that off. I don't want it to get on my white cardstock here. So I've got the 2 segments with the 3 little points, and I'm going to line this up as best as I can. And try not to rock that stamp. Success! I like it when it happens that way. Because believe me, my friends, it does not always happen that way. That's what we have a little scrap bin for, isn't it? All right, so now we know where we're going to put our little bulbs. It's time for us to create those bulbs. And I have the little image here of it's a spider web with a spider. I just love this stamp set. This is so much fun. And my kids love it too. And the fact that it has a coordinating punch is just a really great bonus. So I'm going to use another piece of paper, and I'm going to stamp out the image in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And that's going to allow me to add a little bit of coloring with some Stampin' Blends. I could also stamp out in one of these colors that are dye ink. All 3 of these stamp pads are dye ink, and that's the important part to remember whenever you're coloring with alcohol markers, to make sure that you do your stamping with dye ink. All right, before I stamp my image, I'm going to take a look at the punch and see exactly where I need to which direction do I want to stamp my image, because it is directional, to make sure that it goes into the punch. So if the paper goes into the punch this way, then the tip of the light bulb is going to need to go to the top. This will save me some trouble, maybe a little bit of heartbreak too. And as I stamp these, I'll make sure to give a nice little space in between them, because I want to do some extra coloring on the outside of the image. And the reason for that would be that when it's punched out, I want the color of the light bulb to continue out over the outside of the stamped image. So while these are drying, I'm going to start on this side and give a little bit of green and a little bit of purple, and then I have my color lifter just to be on the safe side. Anne Marie is asking, you can use your stamp pad ink for your blends. Yes, what the kind of rule is that you have alcohol color going on to dye ink and vice versa. These are dye ink from Stampin' Up. A different version would be if these were permanent inks made from alcohol. So when Stampin' Blends, if you were to try to watercolor with Stampin' Blends, it's not going to work because the alcohol dries the ink really fast. It's just a different formula. So if you want to not have the stamped image smear and blur, which if I used my regular Stampin' Write markers that look like this is dye ink on the inside of the marker, and it would smear my stamped image that was also dye ink. But by using 2 different formulas of ink, they are not going to smear each other out. So I thought it would be fun to add green on the inside where the spider web will really show up. And this is some simple coloring. This is no special techniques. And then I have the, oh, and by the way, this is the light Granny Apple Green. And then I have the light Highland Heather that I'm going to add the color, and I am coloring outside the lines on purpose because I want that color to extend past where the punch is going to remove it from the paper. But I don't want to cover up the green completely. I want to leave some green. But no worries, we'll come back in with a little bit more green just to make sure that the green doesn't get taken over by the purple. So what my goal is to make these little lights look like glowing light bulbs. So that's why I want the color to extend out past where the punch is going to lay. Hi Doreen, how are you? Thanks for stopping in with us today. So now I'm going back with the green, and this is going to just kind of reinforce how that color goes out into the purple. But purple plus green kind of equals a bit of mud. So I'm going to try really hard not to let the green and the purple have a lot of interaction. Just where the area is that it kind of needs to blend out. And now if need be, I have the color lifter, and that will help. Like if I want to have an area of the light bulb look like it has a little shiny spot, then I can just kind of go back and forth in one particular area, and it'll give me a little bit, just a little shiny spot. Will look like a little glare. It's not going to be very bright though, because these other colors are really strong. But this is a really fun look. I like these colors. So Betty says that she loves the stamp set, and you've been using the bulbs for lots of fun stuff. And I love that idea, Betty. And the fact that you can pair it with any occasion is just wonderful. So lining this up in the punch, because I stamped just in the right spot, then I've got my bulb that can come out and it's ready to go. And we'll stamp our bottom pieces that go to these bulbs in just a few minutes. We're going to use a contrasting color for that. I try to line these things up as best as I can. Now I do find that it's a little bit crazy for me to try and punch out the little piece that goes with it to make sure that I stamp it in the right place. So I'm totally okay with using another piece of paper to get that look. I'm okay with it. I save enough paper as it is, definitely. I know we all do. But to get the precision right on these little, I guess it would call it the base of the bulb, then I want to make sure that I get them on a separate sheet of paper and get a nice stamped image. So back to the punch, the orientation, it looks like a shoe print. Oh, that's cool, Joanne. I like that idea. So looking at the way the punch goes, there is a direction. So the part of the base that connects to the bulb needs to be facing up that way. So I'm going to stamp it in this direction. Now I could always just turn the paper over, but this helps my brain to understand exactly where I'm supposed to stamp something. Sometimes we need just a little bit of help that way. And this is in Mango Melody. And the mango is going to really stand out from the purple and the green. So this is the direction of the base. So I'm going to place that in the punch, and there's a little slight contour to where I can know exactly where to line this piece up. And there we have it. So this is just a little extra step to make sure that it looks the way that I want it to look. So it's not necessary. This is just to make sure that I get the look that I want. It is such a tiny little punch. This little piece is so little. Hi, Allie. How are you? And how's baby Addison? I hope she's doing good today, too. I'm going to use snail adhesive to go ahead and attach these little bases down to the light bulb. It's just going to take a little bit of snail, and then I'll take the light bulb and add these two pieces together. And this will be ready to add to the card. So I hope you guys like this project. It was a lot of fun for me to design. I just thought, what looks really fun with this? And I love these fun colors. So with the mango melody, it looks a little bit like gold to me, a little bit. And that's not something that's unexpected when you have a decoration, a hanging decoration. Cool, huh? I hope you guys like this. So now I'm going to add these pieces, but before I add them, I'm going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals, but I want to go ahead and get this unit put together where there is a layer of Highland Heather. So we have our purple theme going. And if you're just joining us, then we are stamping with Making Every Day Bright. And that coordinates with the Making Christmas Bright stamp set and the Christmas Ball Builder Punch, which is a mouthful. I know it is. And this is what it would look like if I were to use Highland Heather at this point and layer on Highland Heather. I'm just really not excited about how washed out it looks. But the grape looks much better. So I'll use some Stampin' Dimensionals to add the light bulbs to the wire here. Now you could, if you want, you could make this go all the way across. I'm just going to have 3 light bulbs, but it's definitely an option to have the light bulbs go all the way across a card front or all the way across just an area here. I like that this is a non-scary Halloween card. I could go up high or kind of make these just dangle down to the point to where you can see the connector. I'll make this one go higher. It looks like I'm going a little crooked with them, so I think I'll move one of these before I get too much further along. There we go. And they kind of have a little bit of a 3D effect. Now, as we looked at earlier, this would be an ideal time to be able to use this little sparkle image, and that would go around the light bulb here in this way, and it would just kind of brighten it up a little bit. But I want to have a cleaner look for this one project. Hi, Nicola. How are you? Thanks for taking the time to stop with us today. All right, so let's start layering some things up, and then we'll work on a sentiment. I'm going to attach this piece directly down to my card base. because we took the time to be strategic on how to stamp this buffalo background, then we don't have any areas that are unstamped, like these little green squares here. Everything worked out really good in that respect. And we're going to need some more dimensionals to raise this up. I could see using this stamp set for Easter for sure. For some fun little gift tags, maybe for classroom gifts, that would be fun. I think you could also use this for babies and baby showers. We've got the fun little image of the flower and the heart. And of course, the little bunny that's in the egg here with its coordinating stamp is going to be cute for babies. Baby cards, baby gifts, baby gift cards, baby packaging. Oops. Okay, and I will put this right here where I can still see a little bit of that green row. There we are. And now for a sentiment. Now, because this does not have a sentiment, we're going to go to Itty Bitty Greetings. And use another punch. So today is all about using punches, isn't it? We've gotten lots of punch work. Itty Bitty Greetings has a sentiment for everything, including Halloween. So we're going to use this fun trick or treat. And it's a nice block font. I've got a small scrap here. And we can do this in many different ways. I'm going to place the sentiment here over the light bulbs, and I'm trying to think what color would be best to do the stamping. I kind of like using the green because the green is going to be tied into 3 different places. So what we could do is we could audition a few colors by using this little scrap here. This is what it would look like in green, and I do like that. And we can check out what it would look like. This is what it would look like in purple. I kind of like that too. That's the tricky part, isn't it? But yes, I think you're right, Anne-Marie. The green will work out a little bit better. It's going to help tie everything together. So I'll clean this off since I got another ink color on it. And we'll stamp with Granny Apple Green. And I went with a scrap that is going to give me enough room to be able to position it straight in the punch, because I am not really great with lining up stamped images. I'm a crooked stamper, that's for sure. So I'm going to make sure I have plenty of room to get down into this punch. And I can just hold it to make sure that it is, that it's going to work out fine. Now I've gotten myself a little bit of a shorter piece of paper, so here's a little trick that I do sometimes. I put just a little bit of snail adhesive, and you could do this with a Post-it note too. And this is going to give my paper a little bit of an extended reach. And so now I can just move it this way. So you see how it's connected? And I can move it down this way and straighten. I can just keep moving it until I see that it is straight. And then I can toss this out and still keep this for a scrap if I wanted. And then we can help this stand out by using our black Stampin' Up marker. Just run along the side. That will give us just a tiny bit of a border to help it stand out away from the white background. Now, if it doesn't seem very thick to you at first, just wait a minute or two and the paper is going to soak up that black ink. So it may take us a few seconds, but it definitely will give you a little bit of a distinction between, it will not be white on white anymore. And that's what I want to try to do, is to separate the white from the white background here. I'll use a few of these little dimensionals. Oh, I don't want to use dimensionals. Yeah, I do. I can place the dimensionals underneath because I've got 2 layers here, and I try not to go up past my second layer. Otherwise, when I mail my project, it's going to get distorted by the postal system. Here we go. A little trick or treat. And now we can just decorate this with some details. And it is a very easy card. I hope you guys like this easy card. We're going to use these faceted dots again this week like we did last week. And I'm going for the little purple ones. And we can just add a few accents here and there. These are a really nice dark purple. I think you could use them as Blackberry Bliss or Gorgeous Grape. You know, we're coordinating just with the purples today, so it's fun. And there's black also in this particular set. And put another one up here. So we've got our project going in 3s. We've got 3 light bulbs. We've got 3 colors, not including the black and the white. And we've got our 3 little units here. And last week, or I think it was week before last, we all talked about the design, and I've had a lot of questions about design. But that video was the one where it kept chopping and closing down on me, and I didn't really get enough of what I wanted to say about the design aspect. But working in 3s is something that you can tuck away in the back of your mind. And when you're working on a project, kind of pull it forward and say, am I working in 3s? If not, let me try this. If a design's not working out, then kind of take a step in a different direction and try to work in 3s. And that might work. Might help you a little bit. So we're going to do the inside of the card to look pretty much the same. And I think you guys might have noticed, if you follow my YouTube channel, that I have started adding a layer of cardstock underneath my inside sentiment holder, and I'm loving the look. This just helps it stand out a little bit more. It's just that nice colored border that I really am liking it. I believe I mentioned on one of my YouTube videos this week that I was going to probably start making them this way. And I tell you, I'm hooked. Just so you want to know the measurements, then my card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This would be 5 1/2 and 4 1/4. And so I've cut this Granny Apple Green layer to be 4 by 5 1/4, which is 1/4 of an inch smaller than my card base area. And so that would make the next size lower, the one that has the white, it will be 1/8 of an inch smaller. So this piece that's white is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. It's just a little bit of math for you. I'm just hoping that that will help to make a little bit more sense. And we're going to stamp this cute bulb again. And this is again with the Memento Tuxedo Black. And I can use that same Mango Melody and give it a top. I'm glad you like it, Betty. This stamp set is amazing. I like things that go for many different occasions. You know, we all like to get a lot of mileage out of our craft supplies. We all know that. But this one is just adorable. I love it. I'm adding just the simple coloring like I did on the front. But this time I'm not going outside the lines. I'm going to try to stay inside. And I'm just adding the purple up to the point where the purple and the green meet. And then I'll mix those together just on that dividing edge so that it mixes the two colors together. And purple and green are not a beautiful color to turn to mud, but separated, it makes a little bit of a good transition to it. Now this is where you could do, this is a Halloween card, so you could certainly go any way with a larger sentiment here from another stamp set, such as Cauldron Bubble. That's a really fun stamp set to work with. And I've made so many projects with it that I almost used it for today's demonstration, but I didn't because I wanted to use something that was different. And this stamp set is just so much fun. So I hope that you will like it, and I hope that you will check it out soon. And so we've used 3 different sets today. Itty Bitty Greetings for our greeting. We've got 2 different punches that we're using. The Christmas Bulb Builder Punch, and I think this one is called the Classic Label Punch or the Everyday Label Punch. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll be sure to put it in the video description. And then we're using Making Everyday Bright and the Buffalo Check stamp set. So we've taken a hodgepodge of lots of different things to come up with a really simple and a really cute card idea. I hope that you like it. If you make this card and duplicate it, then please tag me and let me know, or send it to me by email so that I can see, because this is really a fun project to make. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to spend with me. If you'd like to make a comment and have any questions about this project or any of the supplies that I used, then you can feel free to contact me by comment or email me at jennystampsup@gmail.com. Now, I also want to make sure that I extend to you a personal invitation to join my Stampin' Up team. If you are a stamper and you haven't yet joined to be a demonstrator, whether you want to build a business or just work for your own hobby benefit, then if you're looking for a place to go, then my team is ready to and willing to welcome you in. We have such a good team. We have such a good time, and I really would love to have you along with us. So this is a really fun project today, and I'm so excited that you all took the time. And I will see you again next week. All of the products that I've used today are available in my online store. So if you want to get to my online store, you can look in the video description or the comments here on Facebook or YouTube, and you can click the link for jennyhalldesign.com and then just click Shop Now. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Trip. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.